Okay, we are live. So I want to welcome the man, the legend, Mr. Ash Rathod, who is a brand story strategist. And I'm going to let him do a quick introduction for himself because he's going to do it much, much better than I do. So do you want to give us a little bit of insight into kind of who you are and what you do, please, Ash?
I think I'm happy just stopping at that word legend. That makes me happy. So that's intro enough for me. But thanks so much. I'm a brand story strategist. I'm based in Leicester in the UK. I own an agency called Digital Focus Creatives, which I've ran for the last 15 years. And I really focus on helping people tell their story, helping people and businesses tell their story. So whether that's personal branding or brand strategy for companies, and sometimes they do intertwine because, I work with founders that also want to raise their profile as well. But it's all about telling a story. I think everything is a story, whether it's brand, communication, personal, everything that we do, I see as a story. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm sure we'll dig into a little bit more, like how I started and stuff. But thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, mate. With me, with my little piddly following on LinkedIn compared to yours, I appreciate you spending the time, man. So I think just a couple of questions popped into my head then, because obviously I am a business owner and we're going to be doing some work together end of the summer, which I'm absolutely buzzing for as well. And I've spoken to another couple of colleagues of yours and people that are in the kind of brand strategy world. It can be a little bit of a confusing thing, right, for founders and business owners, and kind of gaining that clarity on what it kind of means. I think for me personally, I'm just excited by kind of making everything, like leveling everything up, making everything sound much sharper and really appeal to that person. So if you're just going to kind of, I know I'm going to put you on the spot here, if you was to kind of explain the three key benefits that business experiences when they work with someone like yourself that works on brand story, what would you say they are?
I think you've said one of the things. I think you said one of the things anyway, but I think it's clarity. That's definitely one thing. Alignment, and alignment doesn't only mean with you and your team, but it's the alignment of all the thoughts and directions and the options that you have as a business or a business owner. And the third one is exactly that. It's that direction. It's that staying on a path. It's that the vision everyone knows as, and why you kind of keep on that same path. So it's those three things. And I think the biggest challenge, including me when I first started my business and growing my business, was that there are so many ways and you can go in terms of whether you're scaling or your product offering or your services and stuff like that. So it's easy to kind of follow suit in terms of what's happening, but that's not necessarily the right path for you. So if you have identified something very clear in terms of your foundation, and let's call that your purpose, and your vision, where you want to go, then you know exactly how you're going to get there, and we call that the mission. So that's kind of, again, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Yeah. Appreciate you. I put you on the spot there. So well explained.
I love questions where I have the answers to, and I just wouldn't. I'll just tell you I don't know if I didn't. So all good.
If you can't answer a question about brand, then we're probably in a bit of trouble.
Let's switch this off right now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I mean, the clarity, the alignment, spoke about direction. Again, speaking as a business owner, young business owner, we're only 6 years old. I think you bang on. You get those points in the month, in the year. You think, bloody hell, I've got so many different ways we can take this now. There's 4 forks in the road. There's not 2. Do you go for this type of program? Do you approach this type of person? So it kind of makes total sense to me as a business at this stage of where we are. The kind of growth or scaling phase. What's the difference? Because obviously you work with a range of different kind of companies and ages and maturity. So what would be the kind of difference compared to like a founder business, a younger business, compared to someone that's been in the game for 10, 15, 20 years and wants to level up what they're doing? Is there a different approach that that you take with that, or?
So there's a different approach to every business, even when it comes to the same, the same size of business or industry or sector that business is in. And I think that's the key thing with brand strategy. It shouldn't just be an off-the-shelf framework. It shouldn't just be a one size fits all, because not every business is the same, even when it's very similar. So you might have another fitness business that's got one founder and a small team in your area similar to you, but they are a different business, and they should be a different business. And if they're not, then it's our job to make sure that you are positioning yourself as a different business, because then it just comes down to the stupid things like pricing. And once everything's the same, then it's just a race to the bottom in terms of your pricing and your services. So in terms of how we work as well, like I said, it's not off the shelf. So we do an audit of businesses. We create bespoke workshops. We design the workshops before we get involved at the actual workshop day. And as well, we're doing the preparation work now with you, like even little things like logistics of booking the days and times, but we need a runway before the actual workshop, because we're actually going to do some auditing, and we're going to make sure that workshop is designed specifically for you based on what you actually need. So lost my voice then. I need to take more breath. So the bigger corporations and bigger businesses, there might be some that are they have totally different as they've grown, they've had different services and products and stuff. And then we're getting into kind of brand architecture. How do you build and scale a business and still make sure that the brand is the same? Because otherwise then it starts looking disjointed and loads of different things. And then, how do you make sure that there's that one unified kind of brand, if you call it, for your customers? So it's so different, and that's the beauty of it, and that's why we enjoy it so much, because otherwise it makes your job mundane. And I'm definitely not that type of person. I love challenges and I like change.
Would you say, again, a question that's popped into my head, would you say that a company, say they're between 1 and 6 years old, so you consider them, a young company, right? Did you feel that if you had 10 companies and 5 of them had a strong brand, really good strategy, good messaging, real clarity about who they work with, right? Do you think that those 5 companies got a much better chance of survival than the other 5?
So so I've understood this correctly. So you've got the same owner, so it's under one company, and you've got different companies within that brand. Is that what you're saying?
So imagine you've got 10 different companies. I'm just using a random example, right?
Okay.
10 different fitness companies, right? And they're all the same age. They're all kind of going into this next phase. The question is, when you've got a strong brand, when they've got clarity around who they deal with, is it more likely for that company to, grow and to survive and to succeed, compared to the 5 that are essentially what most of us start doing, right? Which is just running through custard and really trying to, gain some kind of clarity in between the panic attacks and the not sleeping and the alcohol usage. So I get what you mean now. So those 5 companies, they're probably doing really well because they started first. They were almost the entrance into the market in that area. They've built a following, they've built their customer base, they've got money behind them. And then the other 5 companies are kind of almost, if you want to call them kind of, I wouldn't say followers, but they came afterwards. They're almost trying to fight for that space in the market that these other 5 incumbents have already got. So it's going to be difficult or more challenging for the 5 others, but there's pros and cons. So there's other companies, there's things like they get set in their ways, they're not moving in times. They're too probably big or less agile to make quick changes. So that's kind of the cons that they have, which makes it a pro for all those other companies. And what we do with those other companies is we look at that and see
how we can actually what we call outmaneuver those companies. So
Wow.
and it's much easier, I would say, to help those type of companies outmaneuver the big boys.
Right. There's more moving parts, I guess, to those bigger ones, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've like the bigger companies have probably got like lots more people, processes and systems in place that cost a lot of money. They kind of dated, they can't change. Their positioning is something that they've held for a while. They've got a client database of kind of, I don't know, just people that are used to the way they do things, because they have been like that for a long time, where the new ones are coming in and saying, right, like, what are they not doing? Like, what can we do? What is that white space that we can get into, call our own, and then defend it? And that's our job. And that's why it's exciting for a company, that's in those five that want to kind of move into a space.
It feels exciting to think that you can really start to be specific and niche down, for want of a better phrase, who you target, and then it gives you a little bit of breathing space, right? Because you're that kind of market of one. You're not marketing to everybody. You're really specific about what you do and who you talk to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're used to that phrase, that the niching down, and some people are scared of it because they think they're going to miss out. Some people are excited about it, but niching down can mean a number of things, right? It doesn't just have to be in terms of your service. It could be the type of people that you want to target, your specific areas, or maybe just a focus on one of your products and services, and how you then communicate that narrative as well. So it's a whole number of things, and there's just a big toolbox that you can use. It's when you think niche, you think small, but that toolbox is massive. And again, that's kind of what we help companies do.
I'm glad I've got you on my side helping me out then, because it's crazy. It's a bit like when I see, I go online and I see an artist that's created something, and I'm thinking, how did you do that? Like, for me, I'm not that creative, right? And it blows my mind. It baffles me that someone can kind of do that. So I think brand, for me, and I'm only learning from people like yourself and what you talk about, it's so interesting to I'm just interested to see the results, right? I'm interested to see the process, the journey, because it's such a big unknown. But that's what makes it exciting, right? And the way you talk about, giving yourself a bit of breathing space, being that kind of market of one, really being specific about who you talk to, because I've got a kind of idea in my head, right, about who that is and what it looks like and what we do. But having that real laser focus, I'm buzzing to see this Pandora's box be open, man. Yeah,
and the thing is as well, you might see things that you already feel like you've seen elsewhere or know, but the key thing here is that different perspective and that validation as well. So we might look at your stuff and say, Cameron, this is shit hot, man. This is you're in the right direction, and it's good to have that. Or we might challenge that, and we most likely will challenge it just to pressure test everything that you've got. But that's the beauty of it, right? So you've got and the thing is, when we're working with you, it's not just going to be me. It's going to be Wes Henstock and Martin Zarian from Factory 39 and Confidential as well. You've got 3 different perspectives. So you've got 3 brand strategists working on your stuff, and that's just like, for us, we feel like we've done that. We've changed how brand strategists work as well. Like, I've not seen at our level brand strategists collaborate and work with companies yet. It's usually a solo gig, and that's nothing wrong with that as well, because there's some really good brand strategists. A lot of them are friends as well, and they're really good at what they do. But I think when you get that different perspective, it's just so good, because you might even see us in the room, like me, Wes and Martin, challenging each other, debating whether that's the right direction or not, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a really, really, really good thing.
So you guys are quite happy to debate and talk things out, right? Do you get to the result?
100%, because at the end of the day, it's not about anyone else, any one of us any of us are ideas individually. It's about the best results for you. So we've got to keep that in mind. And we also challenge you and keep you accountable in that sense as well. It's not like what you think is right or what someone in your team think is right. It's about what's the overall right thing to do in terms of results, right? So, and it's one of the reasons why we want all of your team in the room. Like, it's not just about having that one decision maker, because this cognitive bias then gets involved, right? So you're in the thick of it. You've built the business. There's probably emotional attachment to the business. Your ideas are probably what have got you here in that 6 years, and you've done incredibly well. Doesn't necessarily mean the next 6 years or the next 20 years it's going to be exactly the same thing. So it's important to have those different views, I think.
The way you're saying, how you challenge the owner, you debate about the best result, right? It kind of reminds me a little bit of what we do, and it relies on, if that person, that client, isn't coachable and is not willing to be put under a bit of pressure and be asked questions they don't necessarily want to answer, if they're not down with that, if they're not ready to kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to be vulnerable here, I'm going to trust these guys, I'm going to take their expertise because I know the result will be brilliant on the other side of it. I mean, in my personal experience, we've had people that have said they're ready to do it, but actually when it comes down to, building the burger, they're most certainly not. And that becomes an issue because you're butting heads over stuff, right? And if you kind of, with what you do you find there's different levels? Some people that are really, really easy to work with because they're very coachable and open. Some guys take 2-3 days just to get them to start opening up a bit. What's your experience around that?
It really does vary, but that there's a real important exercise which I won't go into the detail and ruin it for you now, but there's one exercise that is crucial and so important, and we have quite a strict agenda because we have such a short space of time, like that 3-day sprint almost. But there's that one exercise. If we don't get that right, we just won't move on. And it's not just getting it right. You saying, "Oh yeah, no, I'm happy with that." You got to really convince us that you're happy with that, because that informs the rest of what we do, and it will inform the rest of your business's next 10, 20 years or whatever. That's the mindset that we go into it. We're saying this is what it should be. Like, don't get me wrong, things will change along the way. Like your mission and how you do things will change along the way. But there's certain things within your business and why you do what you do that has to be convincing to us. There has to be conviction, and there has to be alignment with your team as well, because they're going to propel this vision forward.
Yeah, and you can tell, right? You can tell when someone's not being honest or they're not giving you all of the information as well, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And again, going back to what you were saying, from your point of view, when you speak to your clients, it's exactly the same. Like it starts at mindset, right? It's difficult it's difficult that because you're almost challenging something that's very personal to them, their beliefs and things like that. And it's a hard one to get over. And sometimes even they don't know how to get over of the mindset, especially in your realm, in the fitness industry, I'm sure. I think the question that you asked was, which I want to make sure that I answer, was along the lines of, do we find it difficult to get some people over that line and some easier, and what is that different? Was that along the lines of your question? Yeah, it was.
I think that was kind of mirroring how sometimes we have some clients that are very open and coachable compared to others. So yeah, that was kind of what I was asking.
Yeah, and this is the thing, we get different personalities in the room, and it depends, how big the company is. But sometimes we have finance people that just think about just that bottom line and the targets, and they're thinking like, how is this going to help us make more money? And then we almost just say, right, just stick with us, bear with us, and wait let us go through this process, and at the end of it, sooner or later, they're different people. They're transformed. They're like, shit, I get it. I really get this now. And for us, that's the most rewarding thing, like turning non-believers into believers. And especially when it's the ones that are just completely up against, like against what you're talking about. So I love that. I love that feeling.
It's that transformative thing, right? And I'm very much the same. I'm sure we'll talk about this in more detail, but seeing someone that you spoke to on the 1st of June that was, stuck in their ways, loved their bad lifestyle, didn't think they could learn anything about their body or their health or their mind, and kind of work on that person. So look, just trust the process, right? You chat on week 3, just 3 weeks into the process, and they're 2-3 kilos down, they're feeling incredible, they're sleeping better, and they go, I get it now. I get what you were saying, because it's difficult to kind of articulate that to someone, because we know in our heads what that looks like. We know what the face of someone looks like that changes, but to articulate that's quite difficult, right?
Exactly. You know what? It's really similar in terms of what we do. In now that you've kind of highlighted that, and that's the biggest challenge for us, is really showing the value of what we do in just our content, our communications. Really, what happens is, when we work with people, or companies, they turn around and say, I didn't know it involved all this. I didn't realize how in depth this is going to go. I didn't realize you've taught me things I just didn't even think about. And it's because of the experience of going through it, rather than us telling them, because then it's just an advert, right? And we're just advertising to them, and that doesn't mean anything really.
Oh, I hear you. It's like you say, it's the deep dive on stuff. It's the questions that you don't want to answer. That's what coaching is, right? Coaching is asking questions that people really don't want to answer, but as a coach, that when they do answer it, they're going to go, I didn't think of that, And I think with what we do specifically, that's experience. You can't learn that in 2 minutes. It takes a long time to understand. And obviously, we deal with CEOs as well, right? So these are people that are used to. They're the top of the tree. Nobody says to them, don't do this or think about this. They just tell people what to do. So when they come in a room with this 36-year-old Essex boy, and they're kind of like, who's this guy? It's the questions and the way that you ask them. I find that they go, okay, this guy's not messing around, right? And it's very similar to what you guys do as well.
Absolutely. I love that the questions that you ask and the problems that you frame as well. Like, someone might come to us, and a business might come to us and say, this is my problem. And you think, okay, I'm hearing that, but I'm not going to take that as face value. And in the workshop, we're like, that was not your problem. That was your problem. And that's what we're attacking now.
Absolutely. Spot on. Same as ours, my problem is that I need to lose some weight. Okay, that's great. But there's something else going on. There's a bigger problem here. You losing £10 or £14 is not going to excite you. What's going to excite you is the look on your child's face when you can go to the football ground and suddenly kick a football with them for the first time in 15 years, and they go, Daddy, this is amazing. That's the thing. That's the magical part. Weight loss is just a number. It's a KPI, right? So that you can see I've lit up now. I feel the energy from
well, I've lit up because you're speaking my language now. You're speaking storytelling, and that's exactly what it is. Like, you follow my content, and I feel like you can bang on about features and benefits, like benefits of the product or service, and all the bells and the whistles. But if you don't talk to that emotional transformation, the outcome, and the real things, the stuff that really matters, like that guy that can kick that football and see his son's face light up that he's not seen in years, that's emotive, and that even now gives me goosebumps.
Same, man. Oh, you fixed me already. You fixed me. So there's again a question that's popped into my head. So when you're building the brand, when you're starting to all the work that you do, and I'm not going to try and stick it into one sentence, but is it all about aspirational? Is it all about making people look at the brand and think, right, this is how I'm going to feel, this makes me feel a certain way, and when I work at this company, because obviously with what we do, right, there's a pain element. It's like, I want to get away from not sleeping, feeling crap, not having energy to speak to my wife for the night time. All that stuff is pain, right? And I find with what we do, sometimes it needs a little sprinkle of pain for people to go, oh, right, I need to fix this now. But then also it's the aspiration, it's the vacation. And when they can visualize that, when you can put that into their mind, that's when they start to get excited. So I suppose my question is, from what you do, is it all positive? Is it all aspirational? Is there ever a brand that you work with you have to kind of get a little bit of pain and kind of self-acknowledgement in there as well?
It's all the latter. Like, but when I say all the latter, obviously there is the aspirational stuff, because strategy in my book is storytelling, right? So, and I know that's a big statement, but we kind of break that down massively. But if it was just aspirational, then it becomes fluff. And that's the problem when people hear brand and brand strategy. They hear all these buzzwords like mission, purpose, vision, and all of these things. And they don't realize how intentional all of that stuff is. So yeah, we do a lot of things to shape that brand and that perception of your brand in people's minds and their gut feeling, as our mentor and teacher Martin Neumeier tells us. That's his phrase, like, brand is the gut feeling that your customers feel about you and your brand when they hear your name or see your brand, see your company. But there has to be the strategy behind it, right? And that's again what Marty teaches us. Like, it can't just be that aspirational stuff. Yeah, that's the end goal, that's the vision, and that's the end story, the happy ending, so to speak. But there's a lot of work to do that. Like, a lot of these big brands that we see that have really made it, and it's not just about the money and the capital that they've had behind them. Like, and none of this is just by accident. It is all by design. A lot of these companies are by design that make it really big.
If you, and again, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you could choose, one brand that you think, when you look at it, they've just absolutely nailed it. Because I think it'd be good to give the people an example of something they would know. But what would be the one that you'd kind of choose above all the other ones?
A brand that's really nailed it. And the reason why I'm pausing here, you probably know why I'm pausing as well, because you know the obvious one, right? And I want to make sure that I don't say the obvious one, which is Apple. But I like the kind of the challenger brands and the new somethings that they've created something out of nothing, like almost the thing that they've created that people almost didn't realize that they needed or wanted, right? So the Airbnbs, the Ubers, I'm like just big on those brands. Like, they've obviously created a business out of something, but then they've just built a brand around it as well. So Uber is obviously, no one realized that they didn't need a taxi. They know they had issues with taxis and stuff, but then Uber came along and like here's the problem, let's fix it. Airbnb, like, there's the hotel, it just changed that industry. Like, they're not hotels even now. They own their own space. They defend. Like, anyone that comes now after Airbnb is just a me too. Like, that's the power of brand and strategy put together, I would say.
You mentioned about challenger brands, and there was one, Poison Water. Is that right? I've got that name right? Poison Water.
Is it? It's not the water one, is it?
Where there's like I may be getting the name of the brand wrong, but they've brought out these kind of canned waters, right? And it's just like a really
Liquid
cool
Death.
brand. That's the one. That's
Liquid Death, yeah. Although poison water sounds pretty good.
Somebody just stole that one. And I think the Liquid Death is just an example of, like, okay, it's water in a can, right? But because the brand is so strong, I couldn't tell you how much money they've earned, but it's a lot. What are your thoughts on that kind of brand? Amazing.
It's a great case study, and Level C, where we've been taught as well, use Liquid Death as a case study as well. They've had the head guy who started Liquid Death come in and do talks in the group as well. Just amazing brand, and not only because of how different it is, because that is different. Let's face it, like whoever would have thought of doing like craft beer design cans and putting water in it and it blowing up, right? But also the purpose behind it. And the purpose behind it is the reason why it's called Liquid Death is because their big purpose is like just killing plastic, like because plastic is killing the earth, right? So that is why it's death to plastic. That's their motto. And so when people get behind a cause and it really means something to them, I don't know how much Liquid Death cans cost, but it'll be a lot more than the Volvics and the Evians and the other kind of no brand water. It's the same thing. It's water, right? But yeah, it's the meaning behind it. People don't mind paying for more when it means something to them.
I've heard you, obviously, in our messages and stuff we've spoken about, you've mentioned about the enemy. Would that be, so that, the enemy being...
that's a villain, yeah. Right. I would say that is one of definitely one of their villains, yeah.
Right.
And so I would also say another one of their villains is the thing that everything looks the same. Like you see a Volvic, an Evian bottle, it's like a light blue, clear plastic bottle, and then a load of other cheaper brands are exactly the same. And then this thing comes on the shelf, and it's like, yeah, we're not the same. That's our villain. Like we're different in terms of even how we look and how we talk and how we come across. We're for you, these others are for them. And that's the power of positioning.
And that's so Instagrammable, right? That's so TikTokable because it looks good. You can have celebrities walk around with an Evian bottle. We've seen it for 30 years, right? We've seen the tennis players doing all that stuff. It's like, this is so different and so fresh. And you see that on a video of someone walking down the street, like, what is that? I need to look at it. I need to go into the website and check it out, right? It's just attractive as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we do live in a world of, like, we don't have that much time. We don't, in terms of attention, like we have a shorter attention span when it comes to the amount of messages that are thrown at us all day, every day, especially with social media as well. But even walking through a city like London, like billboards, bus shelters, magazines, then you go on your phone. There's so many messages, right? Posters in the windows and stuff. Like, how do you really, really stand out? And that's how you do it. That's how you stand out.
So this is actually people using this as a case study now, right? Because they've done such an amazing job.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So wanted to ask you a bit about your company. You mentioned a bit about your company. Could you say us a little bit about kind of where you started, what made you start your personal company, and a little bit of that journey would be cool.
From the stuff, so I'll go right from the start then. I love this question. Like, what it makes me think of? Like, do you remember that movie Goonies?
Yeah.
They're in that the pirate lady catches the guy, and he goes, I want you to tell me everything. And he turns around and goes, well, when I was 8. And he goes,
that's it. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
But I won't go back that far.
I'm going to put a picture of the Goonies now on the front of the show.
Yeah.
You know what, Ash, it's because people would be interested in your story, mate. I don't know if you, I'm personally interested in your story, so it'd be great just to hear a bit more about that. Share away, man. Share away.
Yeah, so I did work in TV straight after university. I came out of university. I specialised in script writing. I wanted to go into production and writing for the screen. It was difficult, and so I got a job at Carlton TV doing sales, which is now ITV. So it's showing my age now. And it was a sales role, but I just thought, let me get through the back door and see if I can then get into departments and work into the script side of things. But that never happened. My sales career did really well, which I was surprised about because I didn't think I was a great salesperson. And so that went really well and just keep moving up. And then I moved moved from TV into digital marketing. And we moved to an agency. Moved out of London to Manchester. Moved to a place then called Refresh Media. It was. And then I got a really good offer with a big company, working from home, which was pretty unknown then, like, and especially for a corporate company. And I took it because I had a little baby girl on the way, and it was a lot more money. And I thought I'm going to be at home a little bit more. It was probably the worst decision of my life because it was a proper, and not because of the company. Back then I would have pointed fingers at the company, but it was just not right for me. It was a hardcore sales role, and it wasn't. The previous sales stuff I was doing was almost negotiating deals with big brands and stuff like that, and the money was there, and then it was just trying to come up with kind of campaign ideas and spot advertising and stuff like that. But this was real hardcore sales, knocking on doors, right? And what made it worse was the recession. So there were businesses that didn't have a clue or didn't really care about online stuff. And that's what I was selling for BT. So it was a new product, a new service that BT introduced. One, we were kind of competing with Google, right? And the other part was like there were businesses that just, that were just going under, and we're just trying to get some more money out of them. Anyway, long story short, I lost that job because I was probably too much of an honest salesman where I'd even sell something and I'd call the customer the next day, and I wrote about this in a post and telling them that he should cancel his order. So because I felt like I missold him, and it wasn't who I was. And then I had a lot of knowledge in the game, and I lost that job, very stressful time, and I decided I'm not going to work for anyone again. I'm just going to start my own business. And it was scary. Me and my wife then moved to Leicester to get that support from my family. We started a online site called thingstodoinleicester.com, and it was basically based on having that platform and then going to businesses and selling to them, like pubs, hotels, and like almost like a leisure site, and where they would build their own microsite and stuff. And I didn't know how to build those sites, but I learned how to build that stuff. And that went really well, but it was bloody hard. It was literally doing what I was doing at BT, but without the pressure of the targets, which was, I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I suppose it was a good thing because it was the targets that I put in my own head. I was like, I need to sell now because the business relies on me going out there. And I was basically knocking on doors and phoning for appointments and stuff and selling them this service with a digital marketing thing behind it. Fast forward, we started doing like a lot more websites. I then partnered up with a company in Manchester and just really built an agency and built a team. So I had a remote team in Manchester. I had some people in Leicester. Then me and the company in Manchester, we kind of had different views on where we should take the company, or at least the satellite company in Leicester. So I just split from them. So it meant going back to zero again and building up a team. But I was quite lucky in getting a couple of decent clients, and one of the clients was a Fortune 500 company in America that I still work with today after 15 years. So it was based on relationships and stuff, and I've still got now my small team. I made the decision 3 years ago, like, do I scale this even further, or do I keep that as it is and do other stuff? And I was in, I had the luxury of being in that position where I had a good team that was looking after the stuff. The client's great. But I was more into now the whole kind of brand strategy and consulting and helping helping the smaller business versus just the corporate ones, and that's kind of what we do now. And we don't just help the smaller businesses, we still work with the bigger businesses, but we work with the businesses that we find like really have a challenge to solve, and we're problem solvers as strategists. Like, that's like, if there isn't a challenge there, then it doesn't make the job enjoyable. So that's where we are now. And then I met the likes of Wes and Martin, and we do things differently. So I still do the agency stuff. Wes does his stuff. Martin does his stuff, but we collaborate on these kind of workshops, and it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh, and it's really rewarding when we see the results in companies.
Very cool to hear that story. I've not heard that before. Have you shared that before online or not really?
Probably not that much detail, no.
Yeah.
I was conscious that I was going to be that Goonies guy and telling you everything there, so I went really fast. But yeah, if you want to hear any more, then let me know. And or when I see you in London, we can chat about it.
A couple of questions, if that's all right. Actually,
yeah.
Because, I'm interested in, again, I think business people are generally interested in business people, right? Their journeys and their struggles. I mean, just from all those different points in your career, and going from like working for somebody to taking the dive to running your own company, there's a lot of stress going on, right? Was there ever a point in that journey when you thought this is easier just to get a job here and not keep doing this because it's just getting so tough?
The thought never the thought crosses my mind even today, right? Like, I even think, like, wouldn't it just be easier just to go and get that kind of 9 to 5 and something I really enjoy and doing it for someone else? But I always come back to it and think, no, like, I really like the autonomy that I have now. I really like, there's pressures with everything. And I'll even still say never, but I don't see myself going back to that world anytime soon.
There's brand companies watching this, getting the offers ready for you.
yeah. There better be good offers.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, again, I love, because a lot of our clients are business owners, they're CEOs, and I love hearing about those moments where everything was against them. The money's not coming in, they've lost a client. And it's, for me, those moments of adversity, they're really what start to shape you as a person, as a business owner. It's kind of like, right, am I gonna push to the next bit? Am I gonna grow? I'm gonna, and for me, again, personally, because I'm on the call and we're talking about each other, but it's those moments where you look inside yourself and you go, right, what can I do here? Because it feels like this is like running through custard. What can I do here? Can I work on my mindset a bit more? Can I do some personal work? Can I get some more workouts in, which is going to help me gain that clarity? Can I pull back a bit? And it's those moments, as kind of like scary and as worrying and stressful they are as business owners, I feel like every story that I hear about business people is in those moments where that's where the new little shoot of growth comes, right? And they get to that next stage. And I suppose with business owners, the difference between the successful ones often and the ones that aren't successful is that in those moments they go, right, one more time, one more push, what else can I do?
100%.
Do you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, totally. I think you really explained that really well there, because the reason why we started a business, we had that same drive, and it was that leap of faith, right? What's the story going to look like if I don't do this? And what is the potential story going to look like if I do this? And it's that leap of faith that makes that next thing happen. And majority of the time, if you've got passion and conviction and a willingness and a reason why, then it usually does happen, right? Not exactly how you saw it happen, but it's one of those, you shoot higher than you want, and you'll always land a little bit kind of down. I don't know what the saying is. I butchered it completely. But
Is it
There
shoot for
is
the
a
moon,
saying.
you'll land in the stars or something?
That's
Is that right?
that's the one. Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Or maybe I've got it wrong as well. I mean,
No, I think
again,
it sounds better than what I bloody just said.
wait till you see the Fatima interview I did with. I was all over the place. I'll let you enjoy that one. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the fear of the other option. I think definitely drives me because I was a personal trainer for many years, and I'll be totally honest with you, I started to fall out of love with the actual kind of delivery and the monotonous kind of delivery of that thing, right? And what started to interest me much more was like, how do I actually positively impact more people? How do I kind of grow this business and help more people? And that's what started to reignite my excitement in what we do and what we did, right? So I suppose it's these different areas of growth for people happen at different times, and it's good again because good to hear someone like yourself agreeing with that that moment in time where you think, right, I've had enough here. It's that this is when the growth starts to happen, right? And it's good to hear from someone like yourself. I enjoy hearing it from clients that are very successful, and they go, look, you keep going, just keep going, and still happens. Because for me, my biggest fear, and I know I'm oversharing here, but I don't really care. My biggest fear is being on my deathbed and looking in the mirror and going, did you do everything that you could have done to have achieved that goal, to have achieved your full potential? Because that for me is like, nah, I'm not going to let that happen. I have to keep going. It's
interesting. One thing is what you mentioned there about oversharing. I don't think that's oversharing. I think that's inspiring, mate, and that's motivating, and that's part of your job, right? That's like in terms of what you do. I mean, I'm sure you do say it more tactfully. You don't tell clients that you're going to end up on their deathbed and stuff if they don't change things.
Well,
yeah. But no, it is. It's like it's. I often think that as well. I don't want to be 80, 90 years old thinking, why didn't I just do that? Because even now, when I try ideas like or try something, the majority of them will fail. Right, the majority of them will fail. But if you get to 80, 90 years old and say 100% of those, 100% of the times I didn't try any of those things, it's going to hurt more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I've got a couple of friends, and they've gone into that successful phase, right? Started to really grow their companies, and every single one was like, well, I've tried 100 different things, and this is the one thing that paid off, right? So unless it's a bit like, because I do a lot of sales calls, right? It's like, unless you can get to 100 calls, you haven't created a pattern, you haven't created a number that is going to spit out the other side, which is like, well, we've done 100 calls, you've made that sale, and unless you get to that 100 calls, you're never going to know. So
it's the law of averages, isn't it? Like, that's exactly what I was doing at BT on a Monday. We were just banging out those, like the phone calls. Like we had a list with phone, bang, bang, F off, no, not interested, no. But that day had an impact in terms inform the rest of the week. Like if I went through that day and had no appointments in the diary, I've not made those targets. So I had to get at least 3 appointments a day for the rest of the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Because not all of them you're going to sell to as well. But like, it's the law of averages. You just got to knock on so many doors and try so many things. And exactly the same. And
it's the successful ones, the ones that just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, there's a huge part of that. Yeah, I do believe in luck sometimes, but luck is a small part of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Ash, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting.
Are we out of time?
Friend.
God.
Yeah. No. Well, I said I don't like doing more than 35, 40 minutes, and we've done 48. Yeah. So, we've
Amazing.
heard a bit.
It didn't feel like it.
No, it didn't, mate. I enjoyed that, and it's excited me even more about the brand stuff because I've had a bit more of an insight into it, and I don't know if the team know what's going to hit them yet, but I can't let them know closer to the time. But I'm excited, mate. So it was good to hear a bit about story. It's good to hear a bit more about brand, and it's as a business owner, it really excites me just to see the next stage of this. So I appreciate you sharing, my friend.
Yeah, I'm excited to get in the room with you and your team, and really looking forward to actually being in person, seeing you in person. So looking forward to it, man.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again for your time, mate. And I'll stop it there and we'll catch up very soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheers, Ash.
Cheers.